Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Josh with Alzheimer's Breakthrough. Thank you so much for coming back. So whether you're a clinician, a researcher, a longevity advocate, or simply someone deeply concerned about brain health, stay tuned. You will walk away with some actionable insights to change the trajectory of cognitive aging. My guest here needs no introduction, but Robert Love is a famous neuroscientist with over 5 million views on social media. And his focus, like mine, is on making Alzheimer's preventable and reversible. And the purpose of having him on today is to share specific steps you can take to prevent and reverse Alzheimer's and aging. Robert, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Dr. Josh. And then I want everyone to know that I'm honored and privileged to work with you. You and I have worked together on and off for the last 3 years on different projects, and now we have a medical clinic together where we're reversing Alzheimer's in our patients. And that, the social media is fun. It's great to reach millions of people with information to help them prevent Alzheimer's. And what's much more rewarding is the work that you and I are doing together in our clinic, helping people who have diagnosed dementia. Now the science shows that not only can you prevent dementia, prevent Alzheimer's, but you can actually reverse it. And so I'm honored to work with you and help our patients.
Likewise, and let me actually earlier today, you don't know this, but I saw a patient who actually saw one of our viral videos with millions of views.
I love that.
And then watched our podcast, etc. But what was very impressive is that he's trying to get his wife's Alzheimer's reversed, and she has advanced Alzheimer's. And unfortunately, when he went to his neurologist, his doctors, they basically said, "There's nothing you can do besides take Aricept, try this prescription Aricept. It's maybe it's going to slow down the disease, but really, there's not a lot we can do for you." And what he was really excited about was to hear that we have a completely different message, that not only are there things to do, there are a ton of things to do. And I think the key is to figure out what order to do things in to try to reverse it.
You're absolutely right. There's so many things that can be done to prevent it, to slow it down, to stop the progression, and then to reverse memory loss. Unfortunately, as of right now, nothing has brought someone all the way back from severe Alzheimer's, at least not that I'm aware of. Doesn't mean it won't happen. It probably will, but once someone's so far gone, you might be able to bring them back a little bit, or maybe substantially, but probably not back to their sharpest self. At least we haven't seen that yet. Doesn't mean it won't happen. But I think there's always something you can do, at least to improve the quality of life. I recently got a stem cell treatment in Mexico, which is I go down to a world-class clinic there because I can get stem cells that aren't available in the U.S. Unfortunately, a lot of great treatments that don't involve pharmaceutical companies aren't available in the U.S., but they're available in other countries. The United States and Canada are two of the only countries that don't allow prescription drugs that don't have stem cells covered by insurance, which is fascinating because they're really healing. So I got a great treatment in Mexico, and that's just that's one thing that someone can do to help improve their overall body health. And then number two is exercise. So because I got the stem cell treatment, I'm not supposed to exercise for 2 weeks, which I'm really not liking. I find I feel less pleasant during the day. I have less energy. My brain doesn't seem to be working as well without the exercise. And so even just having someone who has severe Alzheimer's, getting them physically active may improve the quality of their life. And that also can improve their sleep. That can help with depression, anxiety. That can help with mood disorders. That can help with their sleep. That can help with their memory. And so is that the cure? No, I'm not saying it's a cure. Can that help? Yes. Can it improve quality of life? Yes. Is it free aside from the gym shoes or the physical trainer? Yeah. And so if you don't know where to start, get your body moving in a safe way. You're just going to feel better. And if you feel better, that's going to be good for your brain.
Wow. So, and did you just say you shouldn't exercise after stem cells?
Yeah, so exercise increases inflammation on a short-term basis, and inflammation kills stem cells. And so I'm taking a bunch of, for example, I'm taking a lot of curcumin right now. Curcumin helps lower inflammation. Taking a lot of lion's mane. Lion's mane lowers inflammation. Taking a lot of creatine. Creatine helps make energy. I want my body to use the stem cells and use those to make new cartilage to help. So I got systemic stem cells that are through an IV. So those were able to go up to my brain and to be able to reach any organ. So I want them to help repair my heart, have a healthier liver, you name it. I want them to help heal my organs, make them younger, heal muscle, bone, or whatever is attracting attention. If I exercise, that's going to increase the inflammation in my body, and that can kill the stem cells and I won't get the benefit. So exercise is great. Exercise over time, as you know, lowers inflammation, but short-term, it increases inflammation. And so I don't want to do that and kill the stem cells. So I got to kind of sit on my hands and do a lot of walking, but not do the exercise that my body craves. And I'm really not liking it. And so it's very clear that just regular movement, regular exercise, so good for the brain. It improves the quality of life.
Now, didn't you have stem cells in the past to help with a joint, to regenerate a joint?
Yes. My left shoulder, I hurt that when moving my bookshelf. This is just a small portion of my books. I got a whole garage full of books in Boulder. But when I was moving them, I was carrying a real heavy bookcase and it hurt my bicep tendon. I thought it was the joint, but it's the bicep tendon. And one treatment of stem cells directly injected into the bicep tendon. And then 3 months later, the pain was gone. And then I had it looked at again, and the bicep tendon had basically healed. It was a partial tear, and that partial tear was healed. And I knew it was really good when I used to only sleep on my right side because my left side was hurt for over a year. And I knew it was healed when I couldn't remember which side I was supposed to sleep on.
I love it.
I went into my bed. I was like, wait, which one's hurt? Is it this one? Is it this one? I don't know. I guess it's better by now. So I've had, I don't want to call that miraculous. I have had substantial healing from stem cells, and I've purchased stem cells for my parents. They haven't gone down and gotten them yet. I've done another kind of cutting edge treatment called Cerebrolysin down in Mexico, which we can talk about later, which I've also bought for my family. So I'm really investing in my health now to reduce the risk of Alzheimer's later. And I think that's one of the best strategies any of us can do. Wherever you are now, I'm 43, so whether you're 40 or 50 or 90, start where you are right now and invest in your health now to help reduce the risk of chronic disease later.
Yeah, so definitely tell us more about Cerebrolysin. I know it's popular in Mexico and Europe and other countries. It, for whatever reason, doesn't seem to be mainstream or on the radar here in the United States for brain disorders. What has your experience been with Cerebrolysin?
So Cerebrolysin is something called a peptide. And now, unfortunately, so peptides have tremendous healing properties. A lot of them are naturally found in the human body, but these are not patented. And so the big pharma can't make a huge amount of money on them, because basically what they do is they invent novel chemicals and that they can make for a penny a pill and then sell those pills for 10 or 20 bucks a pill. And they have intellectual property on those pills where they can sell them for 3-5 years before anyone else can. Well, peptides, anyone who can make them can sell them. And so big pharma isn't interested, but because they have healing properties, big pharma actually doesn't want us to use them. Big pharma would prefer us to be sick and taking their drugs for the rest of our life. And that just makes sense business-wise, right? If I got a product, it'd be good if everyone on earth took my product every day for the rest of their life. That would be great. My desire is to help people get healthy and live better lives, not just make money. And so unfortunately, big pharma missed the whole mission. Their mission is to actually make people healthy, not just to make money. Anyway, so big pharma is trying to keep this off of people's radars. You and I have been to medical conferences. You and I can tell that the really cutting edge doctors who know about Cerebrolysin, right? We'll speak that word in a small group, and then one or two will perk up. We'll say, okay, those two people, they know what's going on. And so what it does is it basically increases growth factors in the brain, specifically brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, which exercise also increases. Lion's mane also increases that. NGF, nerve growth factor, and then glial growth factor. So glial cells are the cells in the brain that are not neurons. So there's neurons that most people think about brain cells, and then there's glial cells, which are basically support cells. Glial means glue, I think in Latin, or is associated with the idea of glue.
Greek.
Is it Greek? Thank you. It's associated with the idea of glue. They thought that the glial cells were the glue for the neurons, kind of holding everything in place, but they're support cells. So it increases those growth factors. And so the first time I took it, I didn't notice anything. Day number 2, I was sitting at dinner. So I did 5 days of treatment. Day number 2, I was sitting at dinner with the owners of the stem cell clinic. And I said, oh my gosh, I feel so gosh darn good. This is amazing. I just had tremendous mental clarity and I felt really good. I said, you guys got to try this. And they both did. They both really liked it. After dinner, I then went home and did my hardest work of the day. I just had the ability to focus. It was kind of effortless focus and effortless clarity. I really liked it. And that lasted for a while afterwards. And now I get regular Cerebrolysin treatments when I go down to Mexico because I want to continue to feed my brain healthy things. And this is a way of greatly increasing growth factors in the brain. This might be like a week's worth of exercise all at once. I don't know. I don't know what the exact comparison is, but it feels really good. There's no known side effects when administered safely. Not a medical doctor, not giving medical advice. Check with your medical doctor first. But Cerebrolysin, I believe, is a prescription drug. It's a prescription drug in Mexico and in many other countries. And I've heard anecdotally that in Europe, when someone has a car accident, for example, they might hit their head. The emergency room will often administer Cerebrolysin to basically increase growth factors in the brain to try to protect the brain. And then I have Cerebrolysin on standby in case, God forbid, something happens to me. I want to get Cerebrolysin immediately after if I already hit my head for some reason. I would take Cerebrolysin for the next 20 days. And I want to make sure that I get that because most American doctors won't administer that, but I want that set up because I want to repair my brain with the safest, best way possible immediately after a brain injury. In your circles, Dr. Josh, what's been the conversation of Cerebrolysin with other medical doctors or other longevity experts?
Yeah. So it's very interesting. So when I talk to experts from Europe, so my background originally emergency medicine, board certified in emergency medicine. And so in the United States, it's not on the radar. If someone's had head trauma, they're normally not going to get Cerebrolysin. But if you happen to be in Europe, the European doctors are routinely giving Cerebrolysin for people after head trauma, concussion, and often very high doses of Cerebrolysin in order to minimize the damage to the brain and to promote regeneration after major trauma. So frankly, it's been frustrating that for whatever reason, and you're saying it might be big pharma, but whatever the reason is, it's not on the radar screen of most physicians in the United States.
Yes, I mean it's gotten so it was bad. I think it was 2 years ago. Big pharma pushed the FDA to basically criminalize peptides, which were accessible. I was able to go to a doctor and get a prescription for peptides. Then a compound pharmacy filled those prescriptions, and I had them sent to my door from a compound pharmacy, all above the board, all totally legal. And then a big letter came out saying, hey, all those peptides you like, so BPC 157, which is one of the most powerful healing compounds, body protective compound 157, or TB 500, which improves blood flow, or a bunch of different ones that were really good for the brain and body, they weren't available. And they just took them away, I believe, because big pharma told the FDA, hey, these aren't really regulated, and we'd like you to not have them. As you know, previous administrations, every administration basically until now, Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. Basically, everybody who worked at the FDA was doing in and out with big pharma companies, right? So as an example, someone might be CEO of Pfizer, and then they might be head of the FDA, and then go back to work at Pfizer, or they might be really high up in Johnson and Johnson, and then work really high up at the FDA, then go back at a higher level at Johnson & Johnson, big money. Now, this makes sense because those people understand pharmaceutical drugs and the FDA regulates pharma, so you want someone who understands them. Yes, but there's a conflict of interest when you're going in and out of a big institution. Just like with the financial crisis. If you remember the financial crisis of 2007, 2009, it became clear that a lot of people working for the U.S. Treasury Department were former executives of Goldman Sachs. They had the term government sacks, right? So if you're at a certain level, they're eventually going to ask you to go work for the Treasury Department and try to get policy passed that helps Goldman Sachs, and then you go back to work for Goldman Sachs for a huge salary. So this is seen in all kinds of industries, financial and healthcare. But that's my guess as to people friendly to the big pharma industry who work at the FDA said, hey, let's make peptides harder to get, and they did. And really, really, unfortunately, peptides. I don't know if you remember this. Peptides were really hard to get during COVID.
They were. They definitely were.
And goodness, what would have been so helpful? BPC 157, TB 500, all kinds of things to reduce inflammation could have been really accessible. And even vitamin C and zinc were hard to get during COVID. I mean, if I were in charge of anything during COVID, I wasn't. I was just trying to survive at that point, like most other people. I would have made supplements super accessible. I tried to make a really awesome immune boosting supplement at the time, and my goodness, it was just hard to get the things people needed to be healthy during COVID, which is the opposite of what it should have been. We should have prioritized getting all these healthy, making peptides and vitamin C available to everybody during COVID, rather than making people afraid and telling people to watch the news, which just increased fear, which, as we know, increased mortality.
Right. So you just gave an example of what I call regulatory capture or industry self-regulation, whether it's the financial industry or the pharma industry. So what's the alternative to, I mean, I agree with you that when you have big industry regulating itself and sometimes ignoring the public good, but what's the alternative? How do you, what's the alternative to that type of system?
I really like what this administration is doing. It's hiring people that don't have industry ties. It says, look, we're going to hire competent people. That's a great start, right? It'd be nice if the United States government, which is the largest organization in the world as far as how much money it consumes, that they hire competent people. So that'd be number one. And number two, people who do not have a vested interest in what they're doing, in that they don't have a financial interest in what they're doing. And people who sincerely want to make the world a better place, right? If you're going to work for the government at a high level, I hope you're doing it not for the money, because it frankly doesn't pay very well relative to other jobs, but that they get to pass policy that makes the world a better place. I think it's an honor to work in a decision-making level for any government or institution. And the role should not be self-enrichment, which a lot of people and people in Congress do this too. I mean, the Pelosi law, not to single her out, but there's a law now named after her, or they tried to pass a law named after her, that you can't basically invest based upon what you learn in committee meetings. And she was outperforming Warren Buffett in her ability to choose winners and losers because of what she learned in committee meetings. That's basically using government for self-enrichment. Republicans do it too. I'm sure there's some independents that do it too. Probably not Bernie Sanders. He's the only independent I could think of. He's probably not enriching himself. But we want people in government who are there to serve rather than line their own pockets. Now, I think if you're there for your whole lifetime, eventually it's hard to not be corrupt when lobbyists knock on your door every day with a briefcase full of money. That's probably hard. I think we should have term limits for people in all areas of government that have substantial power. And we should get people there for 2, 4, 6, 8 years who really want to make a difference, and then thank them for their service. That's what I would really like to see. What do you think?
Yeah, so I feel conflicted, to be honest with you. So on the one hand, no, I don't think Congress people, politicians should be going to Washington or their state capital and profiting personally from the information they're getting. But the flip side is I'm a believer in efficient markets. And what efficient markets mean is you want the markets to have information factored into it. So I'm conflicted, because if you restrict people with that information from trading on it, then the markets are not as efficient. So I see a conflict, and that's what I was asking. What's the solution here?
Something different. I mean,
Okay.
people say that. I'd love to find out your solution to healthcare. People, I'll say, listen, the United States is the richest and sickest country. We are the wealthiest, and we have the worst chronic health, and we have a declining population age, right? So our average age of death is getting worse, whereas it should be getting better with technology. At least it has been getting worse over the last 5 years, which is astounding. And I say, look, clearly this healthcare system's broken. If we pay more money than anybody else and we have worse outcomes, that's broken, right? If that were a restaurant, you wouldn't eat there, because that means they're charging you more for your meal and it doesn't taste as good as next door. So we have the worst. So I think almost by default, we have the worst healthcare system because we pay more and we have the worst outcomes. So someone will say, well, what do we do? Well, what's your solution? My solution is do something different.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And part of that solution is more personal responsibility to people so that they take matters in their own hands. For example, exercise. We know that exercise in general is associated with lower disease rates, more longevity, and the problem with our current system is you have lots of middlemen, lots of bureaucrats, and that are being enriched by the current so-called system. And you're right, we're getting bad results and we're paying more for it. But the problem is the people who are benefiting financially from this have a vested interest to stop any change.
Yes. Unfortunately, and you can just watch the news to verify this, what's the most common commercial you'll see on the news?
For Big Pharma.
Big Pharma, exactly. Yeah. So therefore, the news is sponsored by Big Pharma. So when I have a podcast, I have sponsors. And I tell you, this podcast is sponsored by this. When a television channel runs a commercial, they're saying our television show is sponsored by this company. And so Big Pharma is the biggest industry buying, basically sponsoring news shows on television. So they're sponsored by Big Pharma. That's what the ad means. And so what happens when you have Big Pharma sponsoring the news? How does that affect what they tell you about prescription drugs that Big Pharma sells? And how does that affect news stories of, a woman, or, our dear friend, Dr. Heather Sanderson, where's the news story? A naturopathic doctor reverses dementia in her clinic with no prescription drugs. This story at 11. Where's that news story? Because people would much rather learn about that news story. Dr. Heather Sanderson reversed memory loss in patients with early stage dementia in her clinical trial, and she published it in the top journal, the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease. Where are all the news stories about that? That's much more interesting than new drug comes out that may be the answer to such and such. And it's because Big Pharma pays news to run stories that are friendly to Big Pharma, and they are discouraged. It's not that they always don't do it, but they are discouraged from running stories about people like Dr. Heather Sanderson or Dr. Dale Bredesen reversing Alzheimer's, or us for that matter.
Right.
I don't know where's our news story on the 11 o'clock news showing our patients who have gotten better.
Maybe someone will watch this and invite us on. But so we were talking about how during COVID it was difficult to get our hands to treat our patients on peptides. But the flip side, it wasn't just peptides. It was also the supplement NMN, which the good news is the FDA in its wisdom has very recently decided that NMN can be sold over the counter to the public in this country. So happy for that decision. But you told me that you're actually involved with a lawsuit involving NMN, another company. Yes.
So basically 2 weeks before the FDA said NMN is approved as a dietary supplement, I got a cease and desist letter. So not quite a lawsuit, but a cease and desist letter that would have basically ruined my business. They said, we want you to shut down any and all production of NMN and stop talking about NMN in the next 10 days. That would have caused substantial loss to my business. It might not have bankrupted me, but it would have set me back several years. It would have been more money than I want to think about. It'd be very scary if I just listened to their cease and desist letter. And they've made all these crazy accusations. They said, we don't think you have genuine NMN. We think there's not studies to support your claims that you're making. And we don't think it's made in the United States. And so for those who don't know, NMN is one of the most powerful anti-aging drugs on the planet. NMN helps reduce the risk of Alzheimer's disease in 9 different ways. NMN improves energy. It helps you look younger. It helps repair DNA. It reduces inflammation. It's good for gut bacteria. It improves memory. In women, this is published in the journal Science. Women who are postmenopausal, so older women, postmenopausal, overweight or obese, so they got a weight problem, overweight or obese, and pre-diabetic. postmenopausal, overweight or obese, pre-diabetic. They did a double-blind placebo-controlled trial of these women. Half got NMN, half got placebo. Those who got NMN, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks, they had reversed their insulin resistance. They basically began to reverse their type 2 diabetes. That's astounding. That's how powerful NMN is. And that's published in the journal Science, the top journal in the field. Really, really great study. I think it's a 2019 study. So many benefits of NMN. And so I talk about this on my social media, and I talk about this in my podcast, on my emails. And then I have a supplement. You and I, in fact, designed the world's greatest NMN supplement. I had our bottle made into a mug.
I love it.
Dr. Love and Dr. Josh, we formulated this to be the best formula available on the planet. And so I read the cease and desist, and of course I got the usual kind of shivers, like, oh man, I got this giant. It's a huge company, between 10 and 100 times bigger than my company, so giant. And they got a ton of money they could spend to make my life very difficult. And so I read this letter and I get a little nervous. I thought, no, forget. I said, no, I'm speaking the truth, and I'm going to do that right now. So I grabbed my phone. I immediately recorded a message that I published on social media saying, hey, some big companies is threatening me with the cease and desist letter. They want me to stop talking about NMN, but I'm going to tell you the truth about NMN. I told them the truth about it. I said, look, they say my company's not. They say I don't have genuine NMN. Yes, I do. I got the third-party test for that. They say it's not made in the U.S. Yes, it is. Here's the address of my company's in Ohio. That's in the United States. I was born in Ohio. Go Buckeyes. And I said all these things. And then people are like, we want to know the name of this company so we can stop doing business with them. So this company was the support from people was really, really great. When I looked over the video, Dr. Andrew Huberman, neuroscientist from Stanford, who's got the leading podcast on the Huberman Lab, which is an amazing podcast. He liked that video. So I was like, all right, I'm getting a little support from Dr. Andrew Huberman here, fighting this giant company trying to stop NMN. And since then, I've been kind of on a rampage, publishing more and more about NMN, the benefits. And I've been contacting the supplement company saying, hey, you owe me an apology. The one that sent me this letter, you owe me an apology. Everything I said is correct. Here's the studies to support what I'm saying. And I think and then I recently sent them a message saying, hey, I think what you're doing is despicable. You're trying to limit the science about NMN. You're trying to silence the science of NMN because you sell a competing product. I said, that's despicable. That's terrible. And you need to stop that. And you owe me an apology. And I want you to send a letter to all of your supplement buyers and share the science about NMN. And so they haven't responded in 3 days, those cowards. But I've been on them saying, look, you made a terrible mistake. You got to fix this. And they haven't apologized. And they've now stopped talking to me. So I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but I think it's really disreputable when large companies use their giant legal team to scare smaller supplement companies like mine and your My Supplement, where we're really just trying to help people with a really high quality formula and help people protect their brain and live healthier lives. And people are coming after us, not competing in the marketplace, not by saying, hey, we also have a great product, consider us. They're trying to shut us down with a bunch of nonsense legal. And I think that's despicable. And I think people really don't want that. If you're going to compete in the United States, you got to compete in the marketplace of ideas. If you got a better product, great. Make a video, get 5 million followers online, make a video and say your NMN's better than ours. All right, you can do that. But they didn't. They instead sent me a threatening letter. And I think that's really, really, really shameful business.
It is. And another pitfall that I think is really important for the public to realize is that many companies out there, if you think you're buying NMN, but there actually is no NMN in it. This was a study on Amazon several years ago when it was allowed to sell NMN on Amazon in the United States. They actually analyzed how much NMN was in the different samples that people were buying from Amazon, and it turned out that about 2/3 of the samples had 0 NMN. So if I ever run into someone who says, oh, the NMN didn't work for me, well, it could be that they never even had NMN to try. They bought a bottle that said NMN, but it wasn't third-party tested, and it didn't actually have what was claimed on the bottle.
And there's another reason why NMN, a lot of people buy NMN, and there's not NMN in it. And the reason is they have the wrong form. They have the wrong form of NMN. The shelf-stable form of NMN, which you and I have, is NMN beta. So whatever, and if you're going to try an NMN supplement, please make sure it's third-party tested, and then make sure it's NMN beta. That's the shelf-stable form. So their supplement may have had NMN when it first hit the Amazon shelves or factories, but by the time it got to the consumer, it may have degraded to nothing. And so you want NMN beta. A lot of people don't realize that. Oh, and then please don't fall for this scam. I don't know if you've seen this. I've talked to 2 very big supplement companies about their longevity supplement. They're adding NAD to a pill, an oral pill. I told both of them, I said, look, please don't do this. NAD is not well absorbed orally. It's just a waste. And so please don't put this in a supplement. You're wasting your money. You're wasting the buyer's money. Please don't do this. And they said, well, our marketing team thinks this is going to be successful. I said, it probably is, but that the purpose is not to make a supplement that's going to sell well. The purpose is to make a supplement that's going to help people. And I'm telling you, the supplement is not going to help people. It's going to be a waste of time. It's going to be a waste of energy. It's going to be a waste of money. And I think you're hurting people by selling them something that's not going to work. And I told this to 2 very large companies, and they kind of just shrugged their shoulders. I said, all right, well, the only thing I can do is when this supplement hits the market, I can say, listen, don't buy this because you can't absorb NAD orally. That's a waste of time. You can do NAD shots, right? You can do an NAD shot in your muscles, and that can be good for you. But in NAD orally, the absorption rate is so low. Please don't waste your money on these things.
Right. And let's just explain some of the basic biochemistry. So it turns out what we're trying to do with the supplement NMN is we're actually trying to increase the NAD levels. It's a cofactor inside the cell. The problem is, you're exactly right. You can take oral NAD, but unfortunately, it's not going to get into the cell. And that's the reality. Is you would think, oh, I want to increase NAD in the levels in the cell. From a marketing standpoint, I'll just sell NAD pills. But you're exactly right. Just because there might be NAD in the pills, it doesn't end up in the cell where it counts. So, yeah, guess what? The human body is complicated, and this is an example, where it's being used.
And the supplement industry, I like it a lot more than big pharma, but unfortunately, there's actors in the supplement industry that are just trying to make money rather than help people. And what I love about the formula that you and I designed, you and I worked on this for months. We went back and forth for a long time on this. And I credit you for making this because I didn't want to make it really. And you said, no, let's do NMN. I think this is going to be really big. And it was really hard. It was very expensive. I went to so many different manufacturers, but we added methylated B complex vitamins and TMG. And that was your suggestion because the methylated B complex vitamins and TMG, trimethylglycine, contribute methyl groups that help with the NAD cycle. And nobody else is doing that. And if they are, they copied us because that was our idea. But this is the best NMN supplement available because of the methylation that we decided to add.
Correct. And from the studies and also from my experience with patients is the way NMN works is it turns back your biologic clock, including in your brain. So it's exciting. You can help rejuvenate your brain tissue.
Absolutely. I take a whole bunch of this. I took this with the stem cells, taking it with the cerebrolysin. NMN, so very, very powerful. The research, the study in rats that is so exciting is that NMN was almost as beneficial as exercise in obese mice. The obese mice given NMN, they had less fat compared to the control mice, and they had more muscle. And they were just more likely to exercise. Just taking NMN, they were more likely to move their bodies, probably because of energy, right? So NMN increases energy in the body because NAD is is a really important energy molecule. So it increases NAD, that increases energy. So the mice are more likely to exercise. The mice had less fat and more lean muscle. Oh my gosh! I mean, imagine if that's true for humans, and I think it is partially. We don't have good data on that, but it certainly increases energy and is helpful with reversing insulin resistance. But imagine the benefits for humans just based upon the animal research on NMN. It is just tremendous, and it's so safe. I've seen 0 side effects of NMN taken in the right dose. Maybe this week I'll take a giant dose of NMN and say, look, I'm going to take a huge dose of NMN just to see what the side effects are, and we'll see what happens.
Well, let's talk about the side effects just for a second. So the side effect I have seen, not with NMN, but if someone takes NAD intravenously, I've definitely seen their heart rate, that they'll get palpitations, they won't feel well. And so if you give NAD intravenously, you actually have to give it very slowly over many, many hours. And people don't want to wait. It's like, no, just turn it up. And that's when their heart will start fluttering, etc. I think oral NMN is a much safer way without the side effects you see with intravenous NAD.
Have you taken intravenous NAD?
I have. I did a low dose, and I didn't have any side effects. But again, I did it slowly. But I did not do a large dose over 8 hours, which you have to, as opposed to, have you had any side effects taking NMN orally?
The side effect is I feel great.
Okay,
right? That's the side effect that I get.
I mean, the major side effect I'll see is that if you take it the wrong time of day, like if you take a large dose at night, people won't be able to sleep.
Right.
So
right.
That is a side effect, and that's why
you're absolutely right. Yeah,
I encourage people to take it first thing in the morning and maybe at noon, but not normally when they want to go to sleep.
I found out the hard way that B vitamins can keep you up at night if you take them at night. I took a B complex vitamin. I remember this very specific night. I took it at night with maybe some fish oil or something. I don't remember what. I just laid in bed. My mind and my body were super activated. I thought, what the heck was that? And then I did some research the next morning. I said, oh, I took a B complex vitamin right before bed, and those can increase energy, and those can create restlessness if it's at night. And so if you're taking B complex vitamins, please take them in the morning or early afternoon. At night is not a good time to take B complex vitamins. That can definitely mess with your sleep.
Wow. So let's transition here. We've been talking about NMN and how it can improve the energy inside the cell. But another supplement I would call it a supplement is hydrogen gas.
Oh, yes.
When you breathe it in, the research has shown that it improves mitochondrial function, more energy, and also removing toxins. But what's your experience so far been with inhaled hydrogen gas?
So I want to credit you. I learned about hydrogen gas from you. Before, I was just doing the hydrogen water, and you made it clear that hydrogen gas is 10 times to 100 times more effective.
1,000 times.
A thousand times more effective.
So you'd have to drink like 1,000 gallons of water, of hydrogen water, to get the same as breathing in. Yeah.
And so were you at A4M with me at the talk about hydrogen gas, where there was it was a very large built man from seemed like from Scandinavia who was, or maybe Germany, who was giving the presentation. Were you there for that?
I can't remember. As you know, that conference is all over the place. So I'm not sure, to be honest.
So I remember this presentation. He just shared all the benefits of hydrogen, whether it was gas or water. So it reduces inflammation. Inflammation is one of the primary risk factors of Alzheimer's disease, major risk factor of aging, major risk factor of pretty much every chronic disease that I can think of. There might be an exception, but basically higher levels of inflammation, higher levels of disease, increased risk of Alzheimer's, faster aging, which is, basically you're getting older faster, which is not what you want, unless you're, the professor from the Futurama. If you ever watch that show, the professor wants to be really old. Most of us don't want to be really old or look really old. So it helps. So hydrogen gas helps reduce all those things, helps reduce the risk of Alzheimer's, chronic disease, dementia, memory loss, and aging. Fantastic. Some ways it does this by increasing mitochondrial health. So our mitochondria are the energy centers in our cells. If your mitochondria are working better, so for example, mitochondria in the skin work better, more collagen, fewer wrinkles. That's lovely. Healthier mitochondria in the brain. Your brain energy is working better, less brain fog, you're sharper, you're faster, you're more clear, more mitochondria in the muscles are stronger, and so forth. So pretty much healthier mitochondria, healthier cell, younger cell, essentially, right? So many benefits of hydrogen, and these are big benefits. Reducing inflammation is a giant I think in the next 10 years, we're really going to get clear how important inflammation is, as far as how dangerous it is to our overall health, and how valuable lowering inflammation is, and how much that does for our health. I think that's a huge category. And then along that is type 2 diabetes, because so many people are becoming type 2 diabetic because of our food supply and our sedentary lifestyle. And that also increases inflammation. So I think those are the two huge things we're going to be working on, aside from dementia over the next 10 years, is getting people to lower their inflammation and help reverse their insulin sensitivity. And so hydrogen gas, so powerful. Recently, I was at a medical conference, and there was a hydrogen gas machine. I sat there and I used it for 20, 30 minutes. I said, this is fantastic. I feel so good. And I was breathing it. I said, this is terrific. Talked with the owner for a bit. He showed me some headphones I can put on that the headphones kind of shoot hydrogen gas. And hydrogen gas is so small. It's just 2 hydrogen, H2. It's smaller than, it can get through any membrane in the body, right? Because, the cellular membrane, which is a phospholipid bilayer, right? So it's a layer of fat. Hydrogen gas can go through that like nobody's business, right? So it can go in one ear, out the other, no problem. And so the hydrogen gas can get into the head. And so wearing the headphones is a great way to get hydrogen into the head, and that has all kinds of brain benefits as well. So I've been doing that. So once I saw this, I actually called you, said, Dr. Josh, I called or texted you. I said, hey, I'm looking at this hydrogen machine. And he said, oh yeah, I love that company. Tell Mick, the owner, I say hello.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, Dr. Josh, great, special price for you. Right. So I ended up getting 3 machines. I got one for me, I got one for our clinic, and then I got one for you.
Right.
I was so taken by the machine. And then so Mick was very kind, and so we got 3 machines. We bought 3 machines. And I've been using it. I really, really like it. What's been your experience with the hydrogen?
Yeah. So I have more energy with it, more focus. But what I find exciting is many of my patients with Alzheimer's or other dementia or other brain problems, they're finding that their dementia is getting better. Their thinking, their memory is getting better. Their interaction with other people, their ability to think through problems, is improving. Now, it doesn't normally happen overnight. Often they'll have to be on it for a couple of weeks. But often it's like what you described, like you're on it for a few minutes. It's like, wow, I've got a lot more energy. And what I find some of the patients I'm seeing, they want, I want a natural solution. Well, guess what? Hydrogen gas is a pretty natural solution. It's common in the galaxy. And
yeah, it's in the air. I mean, it was the first, as far as we understand, hydrogen was the very first molecule, right? Kind of when the universe exploded in the Big Bang, everything was hydrogen, and then those molecules somehow ended up forming more complex. The protons ended up getting together and forming more complex or different elements and so forth, right? So, but hydrogen was the very first element in this version of the universe. If you read scientific literature, where's my favorite book? It's A Brief History of Everything by Bill Bryson. He talks about the beginning of the universe, and if you talk to physicists, they'll say, this is probably not the first universe. There might have been a universe before where it collapsed in on itself. And so, we don't know where we are as far as the beginning of time of all the different universes. And so the physicists joke, they say, the universe is something that happens from time to time. Right. So who knows how many big bangs there were? Who knows how many times God or the creator or just the forces of the universe tried to make a universe that worked. And this one had just the right amount of expansion to be able to go from, the universe, the size of your fist, into this immeasurable thing that we're in right now. And it all started with hydrogen gas. So yeah, it's so natural. By the way, great book. If anyone's looking to read a really well written, interesting science book, A Brief History of Everything by Bill Bryson is one of my favorites. And then he's got the book, The Body, this one right here. This is the book of just about the body of humans. So this is about the science of the human body. Very, very funny writer, very well written, great analogies. He's one of my favorite science writers. He's terrific. He's British. He's super great. Oh, here's a book I haven't taken out in a while. 100 Simple Things You Can Do to Prevent Alzheimer's by journalist Gene Carpert. This one was really good. You can see how worn this is. I have a bunch of Post-it notes and I've torn the cover. I've traveled with this so much. That's a great one. That's a great one as well.
And in terms of articles, literally there are over 1,000 different articles on the benefits of hydrogen gas to health, not just in other animals, but in humans. So, stay tuned on that. If we could also transition another, wait, it looks like you're about to say something. Sorry.
So unfortunately, hydrogen gas requires repeated exposure. And so, we're offering this now in our clinic when people come in, if we want to be helpful. And for those who can afford it, I recommend getting your own hydrogen machine so that you can do this at home. And basically, you sit at home in front of the television, or you read, or you sit and have coffee and you meditate. You just basically put this thing in your mouth, in your nose. You just breathe normally. You can put the headphones on. I'm able to put the headphones on and watch, watch a movie at night. And so it's basically net time, no extra time. And if the machines are $3,000 to $6,000, depending on what model you get, I got the $6,000 one. It's got more capacity. This is a great thing for your overall health. And so if you can come in and get in the clinic, if you're a patient, that's helpful. But we recommend, if you can afford it, getting your own machine, that we can do it 1 or 2 times a day and really, really get the benefits. I think as far as cost goes, I mean, if you look at a sauna or a cold plunge, which I also recommend, you can spend $5,000 on a cold plunge. I bought a freezer, so I spent $500. But a sauna, you can usually spend $10,000 on. And I think the benefits of hydrogen may outweigh the benefits of sauna.
Yeah, but I also think they're additive. But let me ask you about that. You use sauna. What do you like about the sauna?
So I went the inexpensive route. I went on Amazon. I bought a sauna for $2,000 because I was looking at them from China, and they were $1,000 to $2,000. And they were like really nice and big. And I thought, this is going to take 2 months to get here, and I'm going to have to assemble it, and it might not work, and I won't be able to return it. Amazon will be here in 3 days, and I can return it if I need to. So it's good enough. And I do it every night before I go to bed, every night that I'm here. I live in Florida, and I love it. It's relaxing. It's calming. I enjoy the sweat. It feels good. And just this Sunday, I did a spa day where I was doing, so I have a cold plunge as well. So I was doing sauna, cold plunge, sauna, cold plunge, sauna, cold plunge, back and forth, and kind of watching watching a movie while I was doing it. And I felt really, really good. It's just really cleansing. It's enjoyable. It's a nice hormetic stressor, right? Hormesis is a healthy stressor. So putting yourself in hot temperatures or cold temperatures is a nice, healthy stress. And so I love it. And as you know, the data on sauna are so strong. If you do a sauna for 20, 30 minutes, or for 20 minutes a day, 5 to 7 times a week, this cuts the risk of Alzheimer's, stroke, and heart disease basically in half. It's actually a little bit more than that. So I do it because I enjoy it, and I do it because there's tremendous benefit in the literature showing doing a hot sauna 5 times a week or more significantly reduces the risk of long-term disease like heart disease and dementia.
And it probably does that because when you are in the sauna, you're sweating, and one of the things that happens is the sweat is taking away toxins from your body, as an example.
And you're a big fan of reducing toxins.
I am. Because unfortunately, I'm seeing higher and higher level of different toxins, heavy metals, pesticides, forever chemicals. I'm seeing higher amounts in my patients, and I'm seeing higher different toxins. So it's the number and the quantity levels are both going up. And I worry for our society that this is not a good thing.
What's your finding on microplastics?
Yeah, plastic levels are also going up and up and up because if you think about it, these plastics, they stay in the environment. They're not going away. And if you think about it, the industry is manufacturing, and it continues to make these plastics. And this is since like the 1950s. And so the amount of plastics are increasing in the environment, and they're getting into the food supply. So that's one of the reasons why I encourage people to eat lots of fruits and vegetables, whole plants from the bottom of the food chain, because if you're eating fish or beef or other things from the top of the food chain, there's often much higher levels of these plastics there.
And cruciferous vegetables are a great way to cleanse toxins from our bodies. So broccoli, if you don't like broccoli, cauliflower. I love cauliflower, some good olive oil. I know you don't like the heavy oils, but I love a good olive oil. Cruciferous vegetables can help detox the body as well. Those are just fantastic.
I saw the clip of you on Jimmy Kimmel Live carrying around Lady Gaga. Was that physical exercise there?
Oh, sure was. So when I was in Austin, Texas, I was in grad school there. I rode a pedicab. And a pedicab is basically, it's kind of like a rickshaw that's a bicycle. So basically, I'd shuttle people around downtown Austin, Texas, which is where I went to school. And I wore a pink leotard to attract attention. It was good marketing. People loved it. Some people would yell out and call me gay. Either way, I liked the attention. It was fun, and I get really good tips when driving around. And so when Jimmy Kimmel Live came to Austin, Texas, someone from the show saw me and said, "Hey, would you like to be on the show?" I said, "I need to check with my manager first." And of course, yes. And so I got to be on the Jimmy Kimmel Live show. I got to bring out Lady Gaga. She was very nice. Something that I've listened to a couple of interviews of people who basically interview really famous people, and they said almost always, the more successful someone is, the nicer they are, because they've had to work with so many people, and successful people learn that if you want to work with a lot of people, it's really helpful to be nice. And so a lot of Hollywood actors, a lot of very successful people in business are very pleasant. They're very nice. They're very helpful, because they understand that being successful means you got to work with people. And generally speaking, people want to work with people they enjoy working with. And so I recently, someone actually contacted me and wanted to work with me. They wanted a personal consultation. And the way that they responded to my team when they were talking to them, it was rude. And so I sent them a letter directly, said, "Hey, this is Dr. Love. We're not able to help you. I only work with, people who are polite and kind. And here's a free resource for you. And best of luck." I did not want to work with this person. Tony Robbins talks about how he says, "Yes, it is a privilege for me to serve you, and it's a privilege for you to do business with me." And so I only want to work with those in our clinic. We've been blessed with really wonderful patients who really want to get better. That's what's most important. They want to get better, and they're nice people. That's what's really important. And then anyone who I work with personally, I want them to be a nice person, because life is too short for me to be working with someone who's a jerk. And so working with Lady Gaga for just a short period of time, she was very pleasant, very nice, very sweet. And so if there's any young people watching, if you want to get ahead in life, I'm not saying being a pushover. What I am saying is be a nice person, be a kind person, be a truthful person, and be easy to work with. And more people are going to work with you. I've turned down projects that had a fair amount of money attached to them because I didn't want to work with a certain type of person. Said, "Look, I don't care what the money is. It's not important to me. I don't want to do that work with that person because they haven't been fun." And that's one reason why I really like working with you, Dr. Josh, is we're seriously helping people, and we enjoy our time together. We go out to dinner together, we hang out, and it's really funny when we hang out. We're talking about the science of preventing Alzheimer's. That other people are talking about the World Series. By the way, don't tell me what happened. I taped it.
Someone won. Yes,
somebody won. Other people are talking about sports and the weather and gossip, and you and I are talking about the latest research while we're at the sushi restaurant not eating sushi, right? So we're there eating seaweed salad and bowls of white rice, but no sushi because we don't eat raw fish because the parasites.
Yeah.
And we're talking about dementia prevention. So it's a pleasure to work with you because we have a lot of fun together, and then we want to talk about what we're most passionate about, which is helping people reverse Alzheimer's disease.
Amen. So, Robert, where can people find you on social media, etc., if they're interested in continuing the conversation?
Most important, if you or someone you love has Alzheimer's disease or early stage memory loss, and you'd like to do something about it, you can come and apply to work with us in our clinic. Of course, please be nice. You can find out more about that at brainpowerclinics.com. And then just enter your name and email. We'll send you some free information. You can see a video with Dr. Josh and I explaining how we work with patients, who's appropriate for our clinic. And so this could be you or someone you love. And there's a lot of free information there too. So that can get you started. If you're losing your memory, we'd like to really be of help. And we have a lot of free information we give to people there. And then if you're on social media, if you search Robert Love on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube, you can find me there. And then I have my own podcast, the Brain Fit podcast, that's on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. My full name is Robert W.B. Love. So if you search that, I pop up, or Robert Love, neuroscientist, and my stuff will pop up. And I do a lot of education on how to prevent Alzheimer's, slow down aging, and live a healthier life.
So, Robert, this has been an outstanding conversation, deeply insightful, thought-provoking, and practical. Thank you for sharing your time, your science, and your clarity with our audience tonight. For our listeners, if you found value in this show, please subscribe, leave a review, share it with 3 people you care about, and consider revisiting your habits in light of what you've heard here. Dr. Robert Love, thank you so much for your time. Until next time, this is Dr. Josh with Alzheimer's Breakthrough, reminding you brain health is not passive, it's proactive. Good night and stay brain fit. Peace and plants.